I just finished the book Inspired by Marty Cagan, which is about building tech products that customers will absolutely love. I'm William Glass. I'm the CEO Co-Founder of Ostrich, where we're building a financial fitness app for people who need to build a strong financial foundation so that they can live the lives that they want and be better off than the generations before them. So it's really important, given how just crowded the space is and how many different aspects of finance, that we really hone in on building a product that is sticky, that really solves customer problems in a way that is joyful, right? That provides this just incredible experience that people want to come back to. And so the reason why I picked up this book is because my background is not in product development. So being able to run a really good product process is super important, and something that just admittedly hadn't done a great job of early on, and have now put a really big focus and used some of the concepts from Inspired to build out a better product organization. And it's been really impactful early on. But I think one of the biggest takeaways that I took from this book, Inspired, is the focus on outcomes. So rather than just developing a product roadmap, here's a feature list and a feature set, which was unfortunately something that I was kind of falling into the trap of, and our company was falling in the trap of early on, is really focusing on the outcomes. Here's the outcome that we're gonna drive, and then here's the features that we believe will best solve that. But if we roll out a feature and it doesn't solve that outcome, then we try another one, and we try another one, and we try another one. And so through that lens, it's really focused on the job to be done, the customer problem. And that's how we're re-architecting our product development cycle. And what I've learned from Inspired is really focus on that outcome. And so right now for Ostrich, it's 7 check-ins in 7 days. So how can we get such a super fantastic experience that in the first 7 days on the app, people are coming back daily and checking in for challenges that are related to their financial goals? So how can we get people to really, really engage? And so through that, we've been able to identify a couple different feature sets, but one in particular based on customer research and iteration. So the other piece that is talked a lot about in Inspired is using prototypes, tests, customer interviews, and conversations as a way to really identify what it is you should prioritize, what will help solve that outcome that you've set as your objective, right? That objective, that outcome for your product roadmap, product vision is, are you actually solving problems that customers have that they care about and that it's feasible for your company to achieve? Right? So, from a financial wellness perspective, I'm sure that if we gave everyone $1 million, people would love our company and our app, but that's just not feasible. It's not something that we can do. So how can we actually help people in a meaningful way, something that's feasible to build? And I know that example had nothing to do with tech. It could be more like you want to go build this, rocket ship to Mars, right? Like a SpaceX or something like that, but you have no idea, like, how to do basic math, much less engineering on your team. So therefore you're not gonna be able to go build that. So there's a feasibility component, but the tests are essentially to make sure that you are gonna prioritize features that will impact that outcome and hopefully achieve that outcome that you've set, an objective that you've set for your product. That's ultimately what I learned. It gets really into like some tactical things as well, like just defining different roles. It definitely goes deeper for companies that have a larger product team, but there's still really helpful things if you're a startup founder like myself and have a little bit of experience with product or none at all and need some exposure and to understand the different roles, the different functions, and who should own what, which I think is another key takeaway is who owns what part of the product lifecycle, what are the job roles, and how do you make sure that you don't end up having situations where there's no one that is responsible for a very important piece of the product development cycle, or vice versa, you have too much on somebody's plate and they should really just be focused on one side, right? So for example, the way the product owner is really focused on that outcome, that is their goal, their objective, it's not to pick which technology to use. That's engineering's role, right? The lead engineer of, okay, here's the outcome that we're driving. This is ultimately what we're trying to build. What's the best way to get there? That falls under the expertise of your engineering team. It's essentially splitting out these functions where you don't have someone making a decision who shouldn't be making that decision. Ultimately, really, really helpful book. There's a lot of content, a lot of information. I barely scratched the surface, and it's definitely one of those that you can continue to read and probably learn something new each time. But those were my key takeaways for Inspired by Marty Cagan, how to build tech products that customers love. So thank you. I'll let you know how it goes and anything else that I learned along the way.